All right.
Now we're good.
All good. All right. For the folks online, the machine will reboot itself. So we just had to log in and get that taken care of. Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Aaron Todd Hansen. You'll hear folks like David call me Jet. I'll actually be up on stage with Alexandra Winkler at the end. She'll call me ET. It's just because I have so many nicknames. You're welcome to call me whatever you want. Hey, you. Happy to answer questions. I'm going to move my clock here just so I can get us out on time and get you to lunch. And what I wanted to share with you today is how Intuit is embracing artificial intelligence to help really create transformation in the way that we do customer service, both in terms of accelerating the time to addressing our customers' needs, as well as thinking about customer service as a profit center and how we might create more value for our customers and, as a result, income for Intuit. So let's try this. I'll try to advance. We'll do it this way. Integrating tools, they're feed off of this, right? And so when somebody calls in, a case is created. If we know the product that that customer is calling in about, it just accelerates everything else that we can do for them, right? Oh, you're calling in about QB time. You're calling in about T-sheets. Great. Here's potential things that might help the expert. So if we can predict the product, right, we can accelerate that. And I'll show you how we leveraged AI in a relatively simple way to like double the numbers in terms of getting those cases filled in, because we had a really low number before. We're doing other things leveraging AI, and again, not as complex as you might think it would be. If we know they're calling in about T-sheets and we can see the question, guess what? We can pick out keywords, put them into the search engine for help articles, and help like actually recommend articles for that customer service person to help the customer. And then we'll show you even some other features in there. Errors in product. Well, if they had a bank error, the chances are they're calling in about that, right? So if we could tell them, when we could predict that, the customer's at risk, right? So there's certain indicators that we can look at and go, oh my gosh, we might lose this customer. When would we have a like almost face-to-face interaction with them? Customer service, but they may not bring it up. So if we can do something gently to find out if we can enrich their experience, like recommend a top feature. We know that if people are using certain features after the first 90 days, they are exponentially more likely to be a customer 1, 2, 3 years out. I'm sure that's true for a lot of you and the products that you bring to market as well. Cross-sell opportunities, right? we're doing the same. So QuickBooks is the first analogy. We're doing the same thing over for TurboTax, and I can't take any credit for this one, but there's this really cool team that we've been working with out of Israel that actually listens to the call or the case notes, predicts what the call is about, and then actually at the end of the call will load the case with like, hey, we think this is the call notes that you want. Does that look right? You can change anything you want. Now, if you think about those 22 million interactions, right? The more that we can like reduce the amount of busy work, it allows the expert, the customer service person, to have a richer experience with the customer. And because this was so successful, I'll show you some of the numbers coming up. We're gonna integrate the at-risk information into all of our products, the top recommended feature into all of our products, cross-sell, upsell. One of the things that we've learned from research is if we can tell, we don't do it at the moment, if we can tell a customer service person, hey, recommend this T-Sheets QB time to this customer, that will have a certain success rate. But if we can tell them, hey, they have 113 employees, they're using our payroll system, and they're a contractor, recommend QB time T-Sheets to this customer, 50% more likelihood of success, right? So getting key just-in-time information to our customer service people for stuff we already know about the customer at just the right time can have a huge impact. And then there's other things. Intuit's really focusing on what we call live services. So you have customer service folks. I don't know if people know this, but Intuit's now one of the largest accounting firms for bookkeepers and whatnot that you might call up in the United States. Same thing for tax accounting. So lots of different things that we're bringing in. So here's some of the statistics. And one of the reasons why Intuit's so interested in what we're doing. So I mentioned the product prediction, like what product are they calling in about? Originally, it was about 43% of the time we would have a case actually at the end of the call, not even beforehand, where we knew what product it was. I think there was a data person in the mix here, right? So if you don't know what product those cases are about, what's that do to your ability to analyze the data? Probably goes down, right? So we got it up to 81%. We're trying to get it up to like 95. Here's the thing that really got the attention of senior management. When we had, and we did this over a 6 months AB-based test running from May to October, when our customer service folks recommend either a feature or, because I just did this for grins, I'm like, well, if we can recommend features, we could recommend products they might buy too, because we have some AI around that. 600 times more likely to start using the feature. 600 times more likely to buy QB time because we recommended it. And then here's the thing, and actually the number's even bigger, at least based on an outside consultancy. The data that we learned from this study was that we were preserving, it wasn't a 2.7% increase. It was more like, when experts, customer service folks talk to a customer, it's 1%. It actually went up 2.7%, like points up overall. And that means at scale, if we're able, after 30 days, to preserve 2.3% more of Intuit's customers, that's almost, what is that? Almost $250 million in revenue. Now, I was talking with the finance guy yesterday, and apparently we had an outside consultancy come in, Bain and Company, do an analysis of all of this. And he said, actually, they came back and said it's $350 billion. So million, not billion, $1 million. And so really interesting in terms of what we can potentially do. And whatever the scale of your business, right, adapting to this kind of thing helps us move forward. Now, how did we end up on this journey? A little bit was what if, right? So it was also a failure. So I had been working with a guy named Mario Joy. I don't know if any of you know them. He used to be a leader of the customer service team for T-Sheets. And I managed all the back office technology, including Salesforce. And as we became more and more integrated into it, he was leading the Premier Care. And he came to me and said, hey, Jet, my nickname, I'll give you an engineer if you can help this team that's been working on this AI project for like a year, they have not been, they really want to get this out, but nobody's been able to help them get this in front of the customer service folks. I'm like, sure, give me an engineer and I'll do anything you want. And so we built it. It was successful. It was in production. Sorry, we were successful in building it. It was not successful. And the reason for that is it took up the whole freaking screen. It's like nobody wanted to disrupt their work with the customer and go into this thing and then recommend third-party products. I was like, well, I've learned a bunch, but an opportunity came up to reimagine the way that we do Salesforce at Intuit. And that's when I fell into the solution architect. So I'm modernizing it all. And what we ended up doing was building this. And I don't know how legible that is. The left-hand side of the screen, I added this panel that's all about saving time, right? It sort of anticipates what's going on in the call with the customer and just in time delivering things that will help the customer service person better serve that customer's needs. The right-hand side, which I call the relationship panel, is all about the customer's journey with us, right? So you'll see up there, that's a risk of abandonment meter. And right now, this customer is at high risk, right? That was not hard to do. That was actually a pretty easy thing to build. And then what we've done below is I have a to-do list for the experts. This thing automatically opens if it's a red score. And what it tells them is it says, hey, we know that this customer, based on our AI model, that the smart reporting is what we call the stickiest feature for them. If we can recommend this to them, it will not only create more value for them, they're more likely to be a customer a year out. And so, hey, talk about this with them. Now, it's interesting. One of the things, I'm trying to remember in my notes here, it was James Price was talking about productive collaboration. And actually in Dan DeClaus's session, he was talking about collaborating to solve problems, right? One of the things that we added is, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a thumbs up, thumbs down. We wanted to make this not a one and done sort of scenario. Like if I was calling Farah and she was the support person, she could ask me, hey, are you interested in smart reporting? I'm like, nah, I don't need that. She can tag it as a thumbs down, and then the next one, Jay, when I talk to Jay next week, Jay can know, I'm not gonna bring that up. It doesn't make sense to talk with Jet about that particular feature because he's already said he's not interested. But down here, I'll get it to move, down here, we have all the other things that would be attractive to Jet. And so he can see, oh, invoice approvals or whatever the next blank one is. And he can bring up a conversation with it. We have tips and talking points. We actually built in an email template that you can just click email and it'll use my email and send me details about the thing that we're talking about. So it saves a lot of time. And then just over here, this is just an example of what we did with article recommenders. So we read the details of the case, pretty simple. I mean, if you think about a search engine, it's like we're putting in strings, it's returning values, right? We just did it in sort of a creative way, recommending articles, and then same thing. Oh, Jet has a question about whatever the top thing up there is, and he just wants to solve it. I can just click email and send it to him. Or I can open it up, read it, talk him through it if I'm a new expert. So this is an example of something that's conceptual, and it's got a number of different things on it. We've got a risk meter here for the company overall versus just their one of many products. These are recommendations we have in place today. We do have the risk meter. These are additional services. So again, I mentioned Intuit's expanding into all of these value add services, bookkeeping, tax, whatnot. If I know that someone's a good match for that and I'm talking to them in one of our 22 million interactions, you know, how many of those do we need to have to really increment our bottom line or even provide better value for the customer? If someone's authenticated, it's the only time we would do this. If someone's authenticated and I see that they're reading about a product that they recently canceled, maybe I should have the next expert who talks to them just ask, hey, gently, how did the payment solution work out for you? Oh, I'm thinking about it. Oh, okay. Well, tell me more. Do you want me to have someone call you and talk to you about that? Right. Um, and so this is the product management aspect of it. So what are the things that we did? What's the recipe that allowed us to go from the scenario where, like, we had a team, they had all of their AI built, and they just couldn't get it out, right? This is what we did. So we had a solid use case. We knew how we wanted myself and Fair to interact in that conversation, right? And then a mock-up, right? This thing that you see on the screen, I just didn't paint, right? I took a screenshot of a base window and then I changed stuff. But it made it so easy for me to have a conversation with my engineers or the AI team or the data team, and I'll actually show you the diagram. This is just a mock-up of that I did, right? Clearly, it's not very sophisticated, but it was so helpful in getting people on board and understanding what we need. Like, the conversations that happened because of this that were technical were great, right? What do we need to do when something happens in product to ensure that the AI team sees that and calculates it, right? And then the ability to talk about it. Oh, hey, we think that when customers are sending fewer emails, that they might be at risk. Like, that might be valid, but I can't have an expert brings that up on the phone because that would be creepy. But being a former T-Sheets customer, what if they're drawing down the number of active users? That might account for the email. Oh, you're right, right? And that interaction allowed us to zero in on that. Well, that's something I can bring up with a customer. Oh, hey, are you getting as much value for each of your employees using the system? No, you're not. Okay, well, what can I do to help you with that? The data lake, that was huge for us, right? So at Salesforce, a low-code solution, I don't know if anyone was in Anthony Gould from Solomon's session, but he talked about the value of low-code solutions, right? Salesforce is an example of that. And so what we were able to do is we have these widgets that just do an API call out to the data lake where the AI team has published their propensity models. And in my simple thinking, what I'm looking for is something with a score, right? High propensity that this person's at risk, high propensity that this feature is quite valuable to them. Great, we'll do that, put that in front of the expert and have them talk to them about that. A hypothesis. So this is something I love about Intuit. So if we do X, we think Y will happen, and we have these dependencies. Versus, well, I think this is a good idea. Let's just, like, go out there. It's not always a lot more effort. Like, we haven't spent a ton of time developing the hypothesis, but we have a framework so that if we're on the wrong track, we know what we should be measuring. We've identified what we think our dependencies are at a very high level, and it gets people aligned. Like, somebody can look at that and say, okay, Jet, I'll give you an engineer to go build that thing because you've got a valid hypothesis. I'm going to apologize for the data science folks in the room. Like, from my perspective, I think what we're doing is relatively, certainly for our purpose, relatively simple AI models because I can understand them. That's probably the best indicator right there. But the key thing is, and actually they were just repurposed from what we had done with marketing. That's the other thing that's really interesting. It's not like we were built from scratch. They already existed. We were taking things that were already available, putting them in a spot where we could read them and doing something around a use case with them. So, and I'll just pause there. Any questions so far? Yes, sir.
Are you triggering any outbound actions, or are you waiting for the call?
Great question. So for the folks online, is this only in reaction mode, or are we doing it proactively outbound? And right now, it is just when they call into us. So it's very passive, and we only do it when it makes sense. But clearly, those marketing AI models were based for outbound activities. And so we have the ability to do that. And in fact, I have a meeting coming up with the sales team to talk with them about some of the stuff we're doing, because we're actually ahead of them in terms of how we might guide people's actions. Because really what we're doing is helping people be more efficient with the data that we have. Great question. All right. I shared this with you. I don't know if you have any questions. This is the last slide. So why was it possible? One thing that I personally feel, full disclosure, right? So I'm co-chair of the Computing Alliance for ITC. I love Idaho. I love what ITC does with the all the technology things and support. But I think Idaho is special. I see that when I work it into it, right? JD Mullins, who is in the audience, and others really helped to create a company that I think reflects Idaho. It's very entrepreneurial. People are willing to take risks and very community oriented, right? And those two combination of things helped us really feel safe enough to take a risk and try this. We also had great engineers, which is always good. And we thought about things like in Legos, right? We have these components, how do we snap them together and then refine as we go? The diagram in the mock-up was super helpful, super helpful. We wanted to innovate. Now, I wrote down, no one told us no, or it may have just been that I'm a little thick. And I'm like, well, you didn't exactly say no, so I assume that we're still moving forward on this. But like, like Dan was talking about up on the stage previously, he had that grit to really want to drive forward because he knew he had something that was special. And I felt the same way about this particular project. Like if we can figure out how to enable these customer service folks to help our customers create more value for them, as well as create more income or preserve more income for Intuit, that's a good thing. All right, that's it, unless there's questions. Any other questions from the audience?
What's the back end that you're running the phone calls on?
What's the phone system?
Yeah.
We use Amazon. So we use Amazon for the phone system as well as for the chat, for messaging. And for those of you that are familiar with Amazon, it requires a little bit of customization, but we didn't actually have to change anything in our phone system to do that. Intuit, as you might expect, being a very large company, we do have some other pre-built in-house technologies. One of the things that I can get there. One of the things that we have in development, it's fully built, but I want to do some more testing before we launch it. That area, I don't know if I have a pointer. That area it's on the left-hand side. It starts with VCI, Verified Customer Information. We're a fintech, a financial technology company, so we don't share anything unless we verify who you are first. And so one of the things that we did, again, no AI here, but one of the things we did is we're like, it takes like 13 clicks to go figure out who we're talking to. Why don't we just consolidate all of that information in one spot? So we did that. We found out, you know what? That trimmed a minute of average handle time off of calls. And for Intuit, that equated to $4.6 million. I got that number yesterday too. And so we're like, oh, maybe we should keep working on this. And so we have this built-in thing where we have the phone system that communicates with Salesforce. It'll pop a case and it can pass details to us. So if you call in and you say, hey, my name is so-and-so, well, we know your phone number. And if we know your phone number, we might be able to check your email. And if we do that, we might be able to check your company. So what we're doing up there is we're going to get rid of the red box, the red circle, but we'll have the green checks. And we'll say, okay, we verified all of the details for Jet, or we've got one more. So it just accelerates that time to talking about what the customer really wants to talk about. But there might be some AI that we could build on that I haven't thought of, like voice authentication or something. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
For your AI engine, was there a clear solution that really was head and shoulders, or was it just a matter of what fit best with your existing suite?
So the question was for our AI engine or AI models, this like specific models that we were attracted to, or
yeah, the technology, the underlying.
That I don't know the answer to. So product manager. Again, the nice thing was, and that this is the part about the community, is I didn't have to, right? Because we thought about it in Legos, and I knew kind of roughly what they did. I'm like, okay, well, if we do this, here's my picture. Is this like valid? No, you got to change that a little bit. Okay, great. But I can find out if you want me to.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, my goal was to get you done early. I think we're done early. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody online. Have a good day.